Cool. So could you please, for the people watching this, let us know who you are, where you're from, and the niche that you're in?
So my name's Tom Power. I'm from the UK and I'm in info products. So specifically in the building industry. So a little bit different to what most people run info products, a little bit niche, but yeah, basically that's what I do.
Okay, cool. And how old are you at the moment? I can't remember. Did you just say how old you are?
No, 25.
So you're 25. And what's the sort of amount in revenue or profit that you're generating on a monthly basis at the moment?
At the moment, we're doing around 40k a month, and then net profit is around 50-60%, give or take.
So you're doing around £20,000 a month net profit from your online course business. And before you got into online courses, what were you doing before then? What jobs or businesses did you have? And sort of how did you get into before we get into how you got into online courses, I'm curious to know what stuff you were doing before online courses and sort of how much money you were making there, and why you decided to make the switch.
So I've always been interested in like business entrepreneurship, stuff like that. But really, I worked in Timberland, just like a normal retail sales job. From there, went into the building industry, worked with my dad, sort of general building work, labouring, plastering, loft conversions, extensions, all that sort of stuff. And that's where I picked up quite a bit of knowledge about sort of the building industry. From there, again, still looking into ways of making my own money, whether it be like with e-commerce stuff, looking into like dropshipping ideas, like clothing business ideas, and then came across sort of the online course info product sort of space. And at the same sort of time, I was trying to start my own niche plastering business. So I sort of flipped it on its head a little bit. So set up an online training alongside what I was doing with the sort of practical side of the business, through guys that were just messaging me on Instagram, wanted to find out more about, how to do what I was doing. Set the course up from there, and then sort of went from there really. Sold it organically for 2 years, just to sort of see if it worked, get proof of concept, because teaching a practical skill is a little bit different than a lot of normal online courses. So teaching a practical skill online took a little bit more time to sort of get proof of concept, check that it worked, stuff like that, and then scaled it 2 years later with paid traffic, webinars, stuff like that.
Basic. And so something to note here is that Tom sells an online course, but you have a physical aspect as well, right? What is it you're adding with the course as well?
Like a normal online training or info product, but we also supply tools and materials, so like physical goods that come within the package. So it's not just the online training side as well. So we have the fulfillment side of that as well. So when somebody joins, they get access to the full platform and any benefits that come with that. But they also get physical goods so they can get practical, get hands-on. Because again, like referring back to being like a slightly different info product, where it's like a practical skill, we wanted to make sure that our students could actually get practical whilst doing the online training.
Okay, so to be honest, something with this is really good for the offer, but if anything, having the practical element or having the physical bits to send with it is actually more of a hindrance, isn't it, if you compare it to just a standard online course business. But the fact that you've still managed to scale to £40,000 a month with the extra restrictions, that is the physical products, is still an epic thing that you've done. So in the early days of you selling your online course through Instagram and all that stuff, what did you find was the most difficult part about using that system and using the Instagram and the DMs and whatnot? What would you feel was the biggest bottleneck for you back then?
Bottleneck for me was understanding fulfillment. So obviously a problem that most people wouldn't have is obviously with the cost of goods and like logistics wise of fulfilling kits for people. But in regards to like finding students was the whole messaging side of things. So the only way I found traffic was posted on Instagram and people saw it, thought it was interesting, message me, or I would follow relevant accounts, people that followed people that I would be in the same niche with. So whether it be like some sort of like on the tools or like all builders or like certain Instagram accounts and their followers, and then I would basically follow them. If they follow me back and engage with some of my content, then I would message them and follow up with them.
Okay, so you were really going deep into the literally like the cold outreach, the cold DM, because I used to use a program which was a thing called Follow Liker. I mean I wouldn't recommend using it now, but it was the same thing. It was this bot that would go out and follow people continuously, and then they'd come back, and then you could get the leads, and it was quite a good way. But you compare that now to paid traffic and actually having a proper conversion system, like you just can't compare, can you? But there was also, what was it? I think we spoke about this before. Was you posting into was it Facebook groups, and you used to get leads that way?
Yeah, Facebook groups. I struggled with that because a lot of the niche that I'm in is very clicky, and when I posted in groups, and some groups don't even allow advertising anyway, so when I posted it would get taken down or I'd get blocked or kicked from groups. So that was a pain. The way I got around that was with paid ads and targeting everyone through those groups. But yeah, I used to message in Facebook groups, post it. I used to get a lot of engagement, a lot of people were interested, but the admins would take it down or ban me from doing it. So it was tricky to sort of, again, scale and find users. We had the demand there, but it was tricky to find them.
Okay, cool. And so this is the first online course that you've done, your first product?
Yeah, I mean, we since launching, revamped it, rebuilt it and stuff like that, but it's still the core product is exactly the same, yeah. And that's the only one I've built so far.
Okay, cool. And then since you've been running the paid ad setup with the sales conversion system, what would you feel was like one of the biggest mistakes that you made on your journey, either before doing this or since you've been running the paid setup? Is there any mistakes that you think would be good to share to help someone else from making that same mistake?
Yeah, starting sooner. So researching sooner and getting stuck into it sooner. So obviously I spent 2 years organic before going paid. And obviously that, paid dividends. So starting that sooner would have helped me scale a lot quicker.
So starting paid soon to get the flow going, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Starting paid soon just to scale a little bit faster and grow a little bit quicker. Because I didn't need 2 years of organic sales behind me to understand the concept and make sure it worked. So I was a little bit slow on that front. And then whilst actually running, it's creatives. You don't realize how big creatives is to the whole sales process. Like your creative is that first point of contact, that first time your leads or your potential customers see you.
So creatives, for those who are new to this industry, is being the video or the text or the images that someone sees the very first thing on an advertisement. So right now you're on primarily Facebook ads, aren't you? Primarily just pushing Facebook ads. Yeah. Pretty much
95% of all my spend's been Facebook over the last couple of years.
And you've just switched geos, right? So you've just gone from a UK geo, and I believe you're now testing USA. Is it USA, Canada, or geos?
Yeah, so still UK, running UK alongside testing the US at the moment. We tested a year ago, just in a short term, and had like fairly decent results, but then got distracted with a lot of stuff that was going on in the UK. And then it was my sort of goal, New Year, was just push the US now. So yeah, we run the UK and the US alongside each other now.
Okay, cool. And then one thing else I wanted to cover is, did you feel any sort of pushback? So when you moved into this online education niche, did you feel any sort of pushback from friends, family? Because I know when I started doing things online, my mum was very much like, oh, this isn't going to work, get a real job, do all sorts of things. Did you have any, I remember we've spoken about this before, but did you have any sort of pushback from your family about this sort of niche?
Yeah, so my family were super supportive, but were apprehensive, I'd say. Supportive but apprehensive. Like they'd not been around online money or, people, it was always traditional businesses, or just normal, the job route, uni route, stuff like that. So essentially I was risking my savings to build a business in the hope that it would work. And they were sort of unsure whether it would work, whether I'd get a return, how profitable it would be. And because I started very small as well, like they'd seen me do 2 years of very, very, very small numbers. So they were like, do you really want to take the risk? You've saved up some money now and all that sort of stuff. So
you see, I think a lot of the older generation see ads, or a lot of people I speak to see ads as a risk, which it baffles. Like I've spoken to some people before, maybe not in the online course industry, but just general people about ads, and it seems to be the general consensus is people think ads don't work, which is crazy to someone like me who spends a lot of money on ads, but even more so for, I think, the older generation to look and see like, oh, this guy's just spending money, he's giving money to Facebook, what's he doing, like, is he even going to get customers? Like, they're going to be very apprehensive about that. So no, I completely get.
Yeah, I think people are like that. I do hear that from people. I think, we're very much like, if you realize, if I spend money on ads and I spend, I don't know, let's say someone starts at 20, 50 pounds a day and you're getting a return at 20 to 50 and then you scale to 100 and you go from 100 to 200 and you're still profitable. You just grow and grow and grow. A lot of people think, why would you go from 20, 50 pounds a day? Because that's a low amount. That's nice and safe. Why would you spend 500 a day? And it's like, well, if I can get a return at 20 and 100, and I can still get a return at 500, why not scale and increase the returns? Because okay, you're spending more, but you're getting a bigger return. So I don't see the risk there in that respect. But people, once you get into it, learn a little bit more about it, and physically get hands on with it, it'll definitely make a lot more sense.
Yeah, I think the thing with ads is once you've got a solid system, you've got a great conversion system that the second the leads come in, you can convert, say, every 1 in 10. So when we take it back to when I was running my webinar on the Forex one, I was converting nearly, it was just over 1% of all leads. So I knew that every time I had 100 leads in the system, I could convert one of them into a sale or a customer or whatever. So I guess it just comes down to the numbers. And like, if I know that I was paying, say, 50p a lead into the system, and at 1 in 100 of them is converting, I'm paying, what's that, £500? Yeah, so that would be 50 £50 per sale. Or if I'm paying £1 per lead and I'm converting 1% of them, I'm paying 100. Yeah. I think these sort of numbers are the numbers that obviously we go through in the course and whatnot, but it's also very basic KPI. So I think
it's really important. Like, if I had to add tracking, like, it's so important. I know people that run businesses or start ideas and stuff, and they're not even considering tracking. And I track everything every single day, every single morning, look through every single step of any funnel that we've got running, and any sort of sales process, and understand the numbers, see how it's going, because then you can see over the long term as well, even short term, when you're testing, you can see, hang on, our landing page conversion has really, really dropped. So what's causing that? Is it the landing page? Is it the creative? Are we burning out? And stuff like that, I think is really, really key. And obviously cost per acquisition is the big one that I watch. And you can quite quick.
Sorry, I was gonna say, I had this when I was running my webinar funnel that I didn't track for like a week, and I remember losing like 15 grand just because I wasn't keeping track of the numbers. Yeah. So
it's savage. Yeah.
Also,
and it doesn't take long.
Yeah, and I think also having the tracker software that I built for you, especially since iOS 14's come in, it's been a huge thing, because I've ran ads in the past where I'll be getting like really cheap cost per click on one campaign, and in my head I'll be thinking, oh sweet, cost per click's really cheap, conversion rate's great, but then you actually look at the sales on the back end and it's not even making money. So like I say, tracking's so important to at least have the full picture, because on the front end it could look like it's doing really bad, but that could just mean you're getting higher quality leads in and making more money on the back end. So like I say, tracking is definitely one of the biggest things to just keep an eye on and really get into your brain, that you have to just be regimented with it every day and track everything.
And your numbers, like every sort of metric. For me, obviously, if you've got an info product that is purely digital, there's no overheads. Like with, what I was saying with product costs and overheads that I have, obviously I have to factor in a little bit more, but always know your numbers as well. Accommodate for VAT if you need to, accommodate for your taxes and software costs and ads, customer acquisition stuff. Like, if you've got product costs, really make sure you break down the numbers and understand that there is a lot that goes into it. It's not just as simple as that. But once you understand your numbers, bang, you're off. You're off and running. And with the,
I was gonna say, I feel like once you got your finger on the pulse, and you, like, the thing for me is I feel like if I'm not tracking ads for a week, I just lose track of things. So for me, like, first thing I do every day is jump on the computer, run the numbers, track the numbers, run the ads, and it takes like 10 minutes a day, but it keeps my finger on the pulse. It gets me to know if we're doing good, we're doing bad, or whatever. And
yeah, 100%. And the tracking that you built is really, really good. Like, I had a call with another very well-known software, last week, and their sales representative that I had a call with was very shocked at how good it is,
Yeah,
and if anything, struggled to pitch their product because of how good what we've got running is.
it's crazy because some companies are charging killer money for this tracking software, but all it takes is just some basic understanding of like code and Excel, and then you can I think for me, like, the one thing with this course and the reason I built this tracker is because if I can give someone this tracker with the course and it's going to cost them £10 a month in automations to get it running, it's going to save them £600-700 where they would look to pay elsewhere, and that's extra money they could be putting into their ads to make more money. So
yeah,
again,
the amount of like testing that we do and cutting campaigns that don't work, and you can, in a really simplified version, let's say you've got 3 ad sets and there's 20 quid on each ad set, 60 quid a day, you can very quickly see, right, ad set 1 is really performing, ad set 2
is there any way you can show us on the call? I don't know if you have it all if you have it loaded up on your computer. Whilst you're doing that, one thing I'm curious, and I'm sure the people watching are going to be curious, is what sort of team do you have in place? Do you have any employees, subcontractors that are helping you with your product? I mean, excluding the physical product side, because like I say, 99% of people aren't going to have to do anything physical, but do you have anyone running ads, helping with copy or anything like that? Have you ever outsourced anything?
Yeah, so I've always been fairly good with like copy and stuff. Don't know why I failed my English GCSE like 4 or 5 times, but for some reason the copy that I write works. I don't know if it's because I enjoy sales or whatever, but I have hired copywriters from Fiverr, but what I've recently noticed is with ChatGPT. So I paid a copywriter 90 quid for 2 copies. It took him 3 days. So obviously he understands the niche and then writes the copies, and they were good and they converted. But I paid obviously someone 90 quid and waited 3 days. I used ChatGPT, ran a test, and it was obviously ChatGPT. I think they've got a premium model now, but it was free at the time. It took like 30 seconds, and I used those creators to run ads, and they were also profitable. So I wasn't waiting 3 days, and I wasn't paying a copywriter, and I was using AI. So that's quite cool. But I wrote most of my own copy. Built the course myself. When I rebuilt the course, I hired a videographer because we were very profitable, churning, doing well, so I could reinvest some of that money to make it better. My first course was all self-recorded, all the audio was me, I edited on iMovie, like did everything myself, so I understood how to build the course from scratch. But then I hired a videographer.
When you first sold the course, were you building the whole thing out first? And then selling after, or were you pre-selling some? Because I know some people go down different routes, but I can't remember what route you went down actually.
When I launched, sorry?
Yeah, so did you build the course, everything first, then sell the first customer in? You went down that route, yeah?
Yeah, I had people asking, and I'd done like the odd little how-to video, like self-filmed on my phone sort of thing. But the program I built out, because I reckon it took me a month to film and then maybe like another month to edit, something like that. But I was pretty dedicated, pretty on it. But that was quite a big course, and obviously, again, the way I had to film it, because it was practical, there was a lot of setup. There was like a sort of little studio setup, and we had visual. I mean, think of it like Art Attack. You know, like here's what I prepared earlier. So I had to make sure everything was prepped for like the next lesson, so it was smoother. But yeah, so if you've got an info product that's sort of more online based, you wouldn't have that much organization needed, so it probably wouldn't take that long. But yeah, so I sold once we were sort of running. I could just start selling, but I know people that have done it the other way and pre-sell it.
Yeah, I've done it the other way as well, and I mean, I think it depends. It's a personal preference really. If someone wants to pre-sell first, or if they want to build first and sell after. My advice would be to sell first and then build as you go. So get someone into a program, give them coaching, and then build the product out at the same time. But again, it's completely up to you. Some people feel more comfortable actually having the product there and then ready. But yeah, it depends if you've got the time and you've got the patience just to build out first. Did you manage to have a look at the spreadsheet so we could just show some of the people watching this the tracker? So for those who are watching this and aren't aware, when iOS 14 came into place, Facebook ads and Google ads they weren't really tracking things correctly. So you might have two campaigns, right? One targeting men, one targeting female, right? It's very, very simple. And it would, like a man would buy, and then it would Facebook would tell you that it was the female ad that got the sale. Again, it's completely inaccurate. So when you're trying to launch your ads, when you're trying to scale your ads, this gets more complicated. So what I did for myself and my members and a few of my friends in the space is I managed to go ahead and build this sort of mini software, so where we can track where each individual lead came from, and then when they purchase, whether that be a week, month, year down the line, we can then attribute that sale back to it. And this is included in the program. This is included in the coaching and everything, because it's a crucial part. But yeah, if I think Tom's got, actually,
I've got it up. If you share your enable screen sharing,
that's right.
I will show an example of a test that we did this month.
That's cool. Yeah, you should be able to see now.
Okay, so taking a look inside the tracker. So obviously with the tracker, obviously you can filter and stuff like that. So custom date range of just this month so far.
Yeah.
An example here would be what we're testing with one campaign is 3 different angles. So with my industry, I find there's 3 main reasons that somebody would want to learn what we teach. So one of them is creativity. One of them is about like the wear and tear on the body of other trades. And the other one is the money side of things. So basically what I do is I test those 3 different angles across different ad creatives, and then we track and see which one performs. So this is a good example. So I start off with exactly the same spend on each one. And then when we track, we see if, cost per lead is crazy high, if we're not getting sales, or if we are, but it's really expensive, we'll drop them. And as you can see, like the spend on the creative angle has quite a lot on it, because compared to the other 2, because the other 2 didn't work very well at all. CPA of like £126. So obviously what we're paying to acquire a customer with this ad set, with this campaign, is around 126 quid. But the others, as you can see, the other 2 didn't get any sales, and they just didn't convert very well. So, cut them and then double down on the spend that is working.
Yeah, see that's interesting to note, because if you look at the angle here, like what I was mentioning earlier, is you get like a very cheap cost per click, and initially on the front end you're like, oh, that's amazing, very cheap cost per click. But if you're not actually generating any sales, you see there's nothing in the sales column, then this is just losing money. So it's I
think you've got to find a good balance of hooking your sort of ideal prospects in, but also providing value. And sometimes sort of money-led creatives for my industry hooks people in, but it doesn't get the actual people that really want to learn. Whereas the creative angle is something that is a little bit more valuable. It's not just monetary based, and people in my niche prefer that. And yeah, like you see, the numbers don't lie. So, if it's not making sales, we cut it, and the money that we were spending on that one that wasn't working then goes on top of the one that is.
So you can double down on the ones that are working. Are you able just to scroll across and just show the viewers like the profit that you've made on like this campaign, for example? So
yeah, so that's
cool. So you spent 885, and then you generated just shy of 5k in revenue, and then net profit is 3,000, just over 3.1k, which is
so that to sort of that's so you're profitable on the front end. We offer payment plans as well, so that will be currently what we've cash collected. But
so this isn't including like second and third payments of the plans or anything. Okay, that's epic.
Anything like that. So so obviously if people make their payments, we have a very, very, very high completion rate. And a very, very, very low, virtually non-existent refund rate. So that should be a good number once everybody's all paid up and sorted. But yeah, even at the moment, like just we're cash flowing with that anyway, without people having to fully pay.
Yeah, it's so sick when you can see the numbers and you can see what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, it makes life 1,000 times easier. But yeah, hopefully that sort of makes sense. So you test what works, what doesn't, you cull. What does, you double down on.
No, it's epic. Thank you for showing. And then just sort of one thing before we close up this call is, so you're at sort of around £20,000 a month net profit, cash in your pocket. Where are you looking to be in like 6 months' time? Have you got any plans to scale, plans to expand? Like do you have any idea of what numbers you want to be doing in 6 months' time with this same online course?
Yeah, so I'm looking to expand the offer. So what we do is we teach a specific set of finishes, basically a specific set of techniques, and we're looking to create 2 new programs this year, which will be upsells for our students, because there's a lot of people that learn with us then go, I want to try this, I want to try this, I want to try this. So we're going to try and serve that demand. So one is scale the US. So we're obviously well based in the UK. Grow the US and launch in Australia, because it's another big audience for us. So basically scale those 3, and then obviously increase the upsells with the new programs. So numbers wise, I'm not too sure at the moment. Like if we were talking revenue, we're sat around 30 to 40K quite comfortably. So let's say 80 to 100 if we're going to bring on 2 new countries and get them at the consistency we're running in the UK. Then yeah, hopefully around 80 to 100.
So you're looking probably to be hitting the 40 to 50K profit a month mark within sort of 6 months,
Yeah.
which is crazy if you think about if you think about the numbers you were doing prior to using this system, which is what, £2,000 a month, something. Well, it might have been.
First year was 2,000-3,000 a month. 2,000-3,000 a year on the first year.
2,000 a year. Jeez.
In the first year, and the second year was like 11K, I think, yearly. So yeah, you can see the big jump. Not even £1,000 a month before. So and that's revenue as well.
Yes, it's so epic to see, and I think the online course industry is so, yes, for something so niche, it's crazy, but it makes you realise that it doesn't matter what niche you're in, even if you're teaching something that's very specific, there are still hundreds, like say you've got hundreds of customers, there's hundreds of people out there willing to give you money to level up their skill set or get into a certain niche.
Another thing I would say as well is, like, if you just view it like a scale, like you don't have to build an online course if you don't think you've got to be a 10 out of 10 knowledge, right? Say it's 1 to 10, you do not have to be a 10 out of 10, because those people at 10 out of 10 are either really, really busy or not necessarily providing the best service because they're so into that industry that they're in. And also you've got people that are like a 1 or a 2 that want to get to like a 5 and a 6. So even if you're just a 5 or a 6, you can take someone from a 1 and take them to a 6, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's fair to say that you're not like the world's most renowned Venetian polished plasterer. Like, you're not top of the game, but you're good enough to help someone get to a point where they can still build a business in it. So as far as value is concerned, they're still wildly happy.
Yeah, so like, we take a handful of some of our students. Like, we've had guys that typically they probably take home 1,600 to 2,000, 2,500 a month maybe. We've taken them through our training program and worked with them, and now they're doing 5,000 to 15,000 a month, quite comfortably.
For them, they're like 3xing, 4xing their income from. And one thing I forgot to mention on the call earlier was, so what price is your course?
So at the moment we're just shy of £1,000. So about $997 and about £900, $899 at the moment.
Okay, so like people they're buying this course and then they're making sort of like 5 times the amount of the investment of the course per month once they put everything into practice and they're getting it to where they want to be.
Yeah, we don't get people that join just for the money aspect. We get really good results for our students in that aspect, but also people are enjoying it because they learn that skill so they can be more creative, or they can just not get the aches and the pains and the wear and tear that you get with normal trades. So we got a lot of benefits to teaching people this skill.
Yes, I suppose for your customers, it's like I say, it's not just about the money; it's the health as well. The health aspect that you can make the same money without ruining your body in the process.
Yeah, so it's one of the reasons why a lot of people want to learn. And again, just goes back to I'm not the world's best applicator. I'm still talented, but I'm not the world's best. But I know how to take somebody from a 1 all the way up through the chart and make very good money, quit what they're already doing or do something more creative, or basically answer that problem that they want to solve. So that's the whole idea, is can you solve a problem for someone with your online course? And if you can, then there's a market. Yeah, see,
I've got a friend who's into like photography and videography, and I've been on at him for a while now to build an online course, because I just think like he's got so much value he could provide, and he's out there every day doing video, and he could be making 10 times that money, having 10 times the fun, in my opinion, just doing it all from home, which is yeah, one day I'll persuade him to get onto a course.
I
But
think people just get a little bit sort of, unsure. It's the unknown, isn't it? But you think anything you've done in life is always the unknown at some point. So
yeah, a lot of it's imposter syndrome as well, isn't it? It's like, oh, I'm not good enough to teach, but you don't know that until you help someone get results. You just got to sort of take the plunge.
yeah, if you can help someone, it makes you feel good as well. Like, if I can, I had one guy that I always like to mention is he was in lockdown and fully like going under. He said the last bit of money that he had, he put into our training, and now he's really, really successful and built a successful business, really enjoying life stuff. And that was his last, pounds to invest in the training. And to say that, I've basically transformed someone's life is really, really cool. So you get that fulfillment from it as well.
Yeah, it's still super rewarding, isn't it?
Yeah. Not just monetary, you get a sort of, a good feeling when you've helped other people sort of transform their life or an area of their life.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for sharing all of that. I mean, by the time we edit this down to bang it on YouTube or whatever, it's probably not going to be as long. So anyone watching this is going to get all that value condensed down. But is there anything that you would want to say to anyone watching this who's thinking about starting their online course? Any sort of words of wisdom that you would just like to reach out to them and mention? I mean, I don't know if you've got anything to say, but I'm just curious to ask.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think I've sort of covered most bases. I think just a big one is just start. Always just get started, take the leap. Don't worry about, not being sure. Just get started. Even if it's just finding out or reaching out to one of us, or, just take that first step just to find out a little bit more, have your questions answered, and then roll it from there instead of just stewing on the idea. I know a lot of people that just sort of stew over the idea or say, oh, I'll think about that later, and then it never happens.
Yeah, 6 months down the line, they still haven't done anything, and they're like, crap, I should have done it 6 months ago.
I'm telling you now, like, if you're watching this, message one of us right now just to ask a question, because a lot of people go, okay, I'll think about that later, or, I'll ask that question later, and then they never get around to it. And it might be the best question you've ever asked. Like, something really good can stem from that. So, what have you got to lose? That's what I would say.
Exactly. So for those, thank you for that for one. And secondly, for those watching, I'll plug Tom's Instagram below, so you can go message him if you want any questions about his journey. Again, if you want any questions about mine and programs we offer, you can reach out to me. My Instagram will be below anyway. But thank you, Tom, for jumping on this call with me today. And thank you for your words of wisdom with other people.
No, thanks for having me. It's good.
Awesome.